We've all been taught that Mr. B R Ambedkar created the Indian Constitution. In fact, he's said that he is the father of the Indian Constitution. But is it true? In this video, I shall tell you about the real creator of the Indian Constitution. So please hang out. This is going to be a long video. And if you are interested in the history of India, in the history of Indian democracy, please continue reading this, watching this video, because this would help you understand things in the correct perspective, not through the political lens. So, have you heard about a gentleman by the name of Mr. Benegal Narsing Rau? I bet most of you haven't. So, why don't you do this thing? Just go over to Google and Google B Narsing Rau. Okay, Benegal Narsing Rau was an Indian civil servant. He was born in 1887 and he died in 1953. But what's important to know is that Mr. Narsing Rau, who was born in the South Kannada district of Karnataka, today, right, more than 100 years back, that area was in the Madras presidency. So he was born to a rich family, and like many other Indians, he took the civil services exam and then aced that exam with a rank of 16. And upon his probation or training, whatever you can say, he was deputed to the Madras presidency. But he wrote a letter to his seniors saying that since he has many relatives in Madras presidency, he won't be able to do justice to his job. So, understanding his situation and respecting his opinion, his seniors then posted him to Bengal, where he was the secretary of the Bengal Legislative Assembly. And it was here that he learned the legislative side of the whole administration. It was here that he understood how governance is done, how laws are made, and things like this and this and this. So he spent a lot of time not just as a civil servant but also as someone who observed the changing nature of Indian governance. Now in 1935, the British government passed the Government of India Act, right? And through the Government of India Act, the British government wanted to devolve some of the powers of the central government to the provincial assemblies. Provincial assemblies is like our Delhi Assembly or the Assembly of Uttar Pradesh and all. So there was this thought among the British government, that we should give away some powers of the central government to the local governments. But then there were several vested interests in the government who thought that, oh, we are an imperial government, so why should we share power with our subjects, right? So even though there was a Government of India Act, yet there was a barrier to implementing this act, which favored sharing the power with the local self-governments. So enter Mr. B N Rau, and he suggested with logic that why don't you consider the Government of India Act as a constitution, all right, as a constitution which provides for the devolution of power to Indians, right? So this was his radical thinking, and that's why many people say that the Government of India Act was the first constitution, or you can say that this legislation actually paved the way for the creation of the Constitution of India. So by 1946, Mr. Narsing Rau, who had worked in several areas and he was a top bureaucrat, he was also now regarded as a very favored bureaucrat among the British government. And that's what got the attention of the Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly was created in 1946, and the job of the assembly was to come up with some kind of a framework which which guided the administration of a newly independent India, because by 1946 it was apparent that India would become independent in a few years. So Mr. Benegal Narsing Rau was deputed to this Constituent Assembly as its advisor, and because Mr. Rau had worked in various legislative assemblies, as I said, in Bengal and elsewhere, and he also had an exposure to the various constitutions of different countries, and was also instrumental in implementing the Government of India Act. So he had a unique opportunity to influence the workings of the Constituent Assembly, and that's when he prepared the first draft of the Constituent Assembly. It's well documented everywhere. You can go to the debates of the Constituent Assembly. Those debates are available online. You can even read an article of Hindustan Times dated 2020. Yeah, there was an article in the Hindustan Times on 2020 which marked the 70th anniversary of our constitution, and that article details the contribution of Mr. Rau. So Mr. Rau prepared the first draft of the Constituent Assembly, which was later sent to Mr. BR Ambedkar, who was the head of the Constituent of the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly. Right, mind you, the president of the Constituent Assembly was not Mr. Ambedkar, it was Dr. Rajendra Prasad. But Mr. Ambedkar's role as a legal man was to help come up with a consensus insofar as the Constitution is concerned. So Mr. Ambedkar got the first draft of the Constitution from Mr. Benegal Narsing Rau. Now the point is that why don't we know much about Mr. Narsing Rau? The reason is that Mr. Narsing Rau was first of all a bureaucrat, and bureaucrats were hardly seen or heard during the British colonial era, unlike today where you can see the Home Secretary or the Defense Secretary or the Cabinet Secretary or whatever on television, newspapers, everywhere. So he was a bureaucrat and he couldn't be seen or heard. The second thing is that much of our constitution has been ascribed to people who fought in the freedom struggle. So every person who's associated with the Constituent Assembly, be it Rajendra Prasad, be it not Ambedkar, but be it other people, they all fought in the freedom struggle. So the Constitution of India is greatly ascribed to the freedom struggle people, freedom fighters, not the bureaucrats. So that's why we hardly know much about Mr. Benegal Narsing Rau. However, I must tell you that Mr. Narsing Rau had strongly suggested that the directive principles of the Constitution of India should have more powers than the fundamental rights of people. You know what the fundamental rights of ours are? Right to free speech, right to expression, right to live, right to profess any religion, this. Whereas directive principles are those principles which guide the Constitution, but they do not have the authority or they do not have the powers. So Mr. Narsing Rau strongly suggested that the directive principles like cow protection, right, like prohibition and all, these should have more powers than the fundamental rights. The other thing that Mr. Rau suggested was that the president should have more powers, should have more discretionary powers in the event of a breakdown of law and order. So, for example, if there are large-scale riots in India and the government is unable to control them, then the president should be able to do whatever he or she likes. So that was Dr. Rau's prescription, but unfortunately those couldn't be obeyed. Now, my second part of the video is that was there only just one subcommittee in the Constituent Assembly, and that to the drafting committee? Because we keep on hearing about Ambedkar. Funnily speaking, no. There were several other subcommittees in the Constitution Assembly, and you would be amazed to know their names. The drafting committee, as you know, it was led by BR Ambedkar, who received the first draft of the constitution from Benegal Narsing Rau. Then there was an advisory committee on fundamental rights, minorities and tribals and excluded areas. This committee was headed by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Then there was another committee on Union Power Committee and Union Constitution Committee, both chaired by Jawaharlal Nehru. Then there were provincial constitution committees headed by Sardar Patel, States Committee, which were committee for negotiating with states, chaired by Jawaharlal Nehru, Rules of Procedure Committee, chaired by Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Steering Committee, chaired by Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Working Committee, chaired by Jawaharlal Nehru. Then there were a few other committees in the Constitution Assembly. These were like Committee on the Functions of the Constituent Assembly, chaired by G.V. Mavlankar. He was the first Speaker of Lok Sabha. Special Committee to examine the draft Constitution, chaired by Aladi Krishnaswamy Iyer. So whatever Ambedkar suggested, it was examined by another special committee, right? Finance and Staff Committee, chaired by Dr. Rajendra Prasad, House Committee, chaired by Dr. Pattabi Sitaramaiah, Credentials Committee, chaired by Aladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, Order of Business Committee, chaired by K.M. Munshi. And then there were a couple of minor committees such as Hindi Translation Committee, Urdu Translation Committee, Press Gallery Committee, and then there were ad hoc committees also. These were formed for specific reasons, such as the ad hoc committee on the national flag, which was chaired by Dr. Rajendra Prasad. So this in brief is about who actually created Indian Constitution. The first draft, as I said, was created by Benegal Narsing Rau, whom now we know something about, and then there were several subcommittees which acted on this constitution, and there was a special subcommittee which examined the findings of the draft committee, which was headed by Ambedkar. So please share this video with your friends, tell them about Benegal Narsing Rau, and dispel the notion that BR Ambedkar actually created the constitution. Thank you very much, and please subscribe to my channel if you liked its content. Thank you.